Recording. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're joining us right now from around the globe. This is Isra Osman, co-founder and educational services manager at Teachagen. And we are happy to have Dr. Abdelhamid today with us. Dr. Abdelhamid Safa is from Cairo, Egypt, but he's considered New Zealand as his home for the past 6 years. He's always considered teaching as an awesome way to change people's lives for the best and has been in this amazing profession for over 22 years. He's also, he likes to get to know people from other cultures, and he truly believes that talking to people from different backgrounds and cultures is a great way to broaden his horizons. He completed his Doctor of Philosophy degree in education from Massey University last year. He has a sense of satisfaction that is derived from helping his students to celebrate their emotional resilience and academic achievement. And he always does his best to empower his students to take some photos of them and also to become the best versions of themselves. So at our third episode of Teachers Beyond Teaching, MENA, we would like to welcome Mr. Abdelhamid. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Isra. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so happy to be with you tonight or tomorrow, this morning in your time. It's evening time in New Zealand now.
Yeah. It's evening time
nice to
on the other, on the other side of the world. So thank you so much for giving us your precious time to be with us today. And the purpose of our live session today is to support students and teachers to understand their learners' social and emotional needs in the classroom and outside the classroom, and how that affects their academic achievements, because there are some teachers who believe that it might not have that effect on academic achievement. However, there's been a lot of research that showed that there is a direct relationship between the students' emotional and social needs. Once they are taken in consideration, it develops or helps them develop their academic skills as well. So before we start, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Mrs. Shah. I mean, it's just basically in the whole profession for 22 years. I've always been seeing teaching as a career, as a mission, as a very honorable, thing to do in your life. And like many other teachers might agree with me, it's always the best time to be with your students, whatever you're doing, whether it's preparation for a lesson or doing something before, it's not as fun as being with your students. So yeah, you're making a difference in people's lives. Part of it is, of course, your personal choice. And I think it's always been in my mind to be in that profession. Yeah. So here we are, 22 years through, and I'm a learner and a teacher. As we always say, we're awakeners, and this is a very honorable place to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I totally agree with you, because once you look at the education, not just as a profession, but as a way to change lives and as a way to help other like students or future graduates to know what they want in life, this would be like, I think, the most important job in the world, after being a mom, of course.
Definitely, I think it's part of your being, making a difference in this world, leaving your touch, basically.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Okay. So, when did you know? Because this is something that I always feel important to ask teachers. When did you know, or when did you feel that you want to be a teacher? When did you find your passion, or what triggered it?
Well, I just jumped into that profession because obviously you don't know which choice to make. So your parents hopefully, put you on the right track. I wasn't sure back then. And I just said, okay, I'm interested in English in general, listening, reading more of, watching more of English episodes and talks. But when I started my practical experience, I think this was the moment I started the second year in Ain Shams University doing education, and with my colleagues and still friends, good friends and brothers, they would say, oh yeah, I just saw your face coming out of that class, and this beautiful glow on your face coming out of that class, and sharing all your experience and what happened in your room. And I thought then, I think that's what teaching is about, isn't it? Yeah. Making students happy and enlightened. And you also have a mission, as I said. So you are an example, you're a role model. So yeah, lots of responsibility as well.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. Okay, I think that your inspiration or your starting point is quite similar to mine as well, because I also haven't been like a teacher like from like college. Like, I didn't choose to become a teacher from college. I didn't have a college degree in teaching, but I found my passion right after I graduated. I took a shot and I thought I love doing this, so why not? Let's give it a shot. And it's been my profession ever since, for almost 20 years now. So yeah, I think it's sometimes it's not like things that you planned that gives you the best like results. Sometimes when you follow your passion, it also like pays back. And okay, perfect. So now we come to the important question. How do you put your students' social and emotional needs in consideration before, during, and after your classes?
Yeah, thank you, Mrs. Ra. I think it has to be in the core of all what we do, because we're not just teaching content here. We're basically teaching the whole of the human being. And it means you are talking to a human being, a person who feels happy, upset, depressed, sometimes successful. All of this comes into the mix when we plan and when we do our lessons. And so what I was trying to do here is basically I was trying to think of a sort of kind of a process. And I don't know if you can see what I'm sharing. Can you see the slides I'm sharing now, Mrs. Ra?
Yes.
Yeah, just at any moment, just let me know from your side if things don't work. So I try just to be as specific as I can, because it's a really critical aspect we need to all consider as educators and parents. So it's not necessarily about English teachers. I think it's for everyone. And this is what I thought. And I also wanted to be, using some tips, basically, rather than just talking theory. Yeah, because it has to be practical, isn't it?
Exactly, yes. It has to come from experience. It has to come from the classroom. I think this is what works best, not just like theories. And they're important, of course, but what happens inside the classroom is what matters most.
And you know, when you said something about not being able to identify when is the moment you become a teacher, I think the best teachers I've seen in my life were not meant to be teachers. Some of them studied engineering, some of them studied medicine, and they just found themselves in the profession. So it is also important to learn about these things. It's just like basically seeing what's behind it. So there's some idea behind this.
Yeah.
So anything that starts right ends very nice. So you get to know your students even before you start your lesson. So you have some portfolio, basically. You go and ask other teachers about what they have, like evidence of the students' learning. Get to know their needs, strengths, areas of development. So don't wait until you start your teaching. Like tomorrow I'm teaching, I don't know who's going to be in my class. But it's also good to be aware that teachers have their own biases too. So sometimes a teacher will go and say, no, that student is horrible. I'm lucky you have this guy or this young lady, which is not true. Because you should start with a clean slate when it comes to your biases. So I think it's always good to be objective, meaning look at evidence of the learning of anything that they have raised or triggered with the advisors. And when I say teachers, I don't just mean teachers. I mean anyone in the cohort of teachers and administrative staff, and of course the advisors here. They play a very critical role in here. And don't just let them know you when you just step into the class or see you in the first day in the line. You go ahead and start. So today was a start of a cohort teaching here. I usually send them an email before, like one day before. So I tell them who I am. I make it informal, but at the same time, be professional as well. Whether it's online or face-to-face, it doesn't really matter much. You just need to basically introduce yourself. And don't wait, because they will already ask questions to other people. Like, who's my teacher? What do you know about him or her? So before they start asking questions, why not you, go ahead and tell them about yourself. So very nice and informal. When you start your lessons, whether it's, going to be online or face-to-face, find a nice informal way to start, because now it's becoming more global now. We can be in Egypt teaching students in China, and the course you're teaching is from England. You can never tell.
Yeah.
So for my case, I always have this good mix of students from different cultures. So I try and find the language and at least just be welcoming to them. Like, say, how many languages do you identify with? Or do you see, or you can understand or read? And then, leaving in the chat to put me some numbers. And of course, set your tone. What are you expecting of them? So definitely always, if it's an online session, definitely make sure you can see them, they can see you, unless they have internet connection issues, or unmuting for, the sake of clarity of audio. But sometimes you decide to leave it open. It's absolutely up to you. With reactions, you have lots of things you can use, especially with the students using emojis and things. Let them cheer up the others and help one another. I start with an agreement, like, everybody put your hands on your hearts. This is a place where everybody's accepted, everybody's welcome. You definitely make good comments, help one another. If it's a face-to-face class, that's absolutely much, much better, because I ask them to tell me what they expect and what they want me to do, what they want others to do. You sort of collaborate and basically let them tell you about their expectations as well. So it has to be non-judgmental here, Mrs. Ra.
Yeah.
It has to be very clearly stated from the teacher at the beginning.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to judge anyone. You're not supposed to make any kind of comments that are snide comments or, sneaky comments or anything like that. And you definitely need to always support one another. And this comes from the fact that when you are in class, thinking everything working fine, when sometimes there's not really that harmony happening there, maybe when you leave class, they become a little bit, silly, if I would say.
Yes.
So it's good to tell them, like, I'm expecting everyone to work together, and respect, which is a key word, respect diversity and respect what we are, who we are.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what you've just mentioned is totally relatable, because what happens in with most students is they become like at their best behavior in the classroom in front of the teacher, and then once they are in a recess or at break time or unsupervised in any way, you can see that other behaviors may show up that they were trying to hide in front of the teacher. So
Totally.
yeah, so having them to believe that this is the right thing and this needs to be done, whether you are supervised or not, I think this is an important key.
Yeah. And I would add to this, don't start by teaching content. Yes, Abdelhamid, be realistic. Our curriculum, our deadlines,
Deadline,
yes,
yeah.
definitely okay. But
Yeah.
this is a very important day in their lives, not just in the learning, in their lives.
Principals
I
won't
mean
be
it.
happy with this point.
They
Principals
will
won't be happy
never
with this
forget the first days of the classes. I don't forget any of my first days with my teachers from
point.
primary school,
Yeah.
okay? And it made a big difference in myself, in my character, and in my choices. So always let them cherish that, use it, okay? So if it's an online, use this first half an hour just to know them, basically. And tell me something interesting that I don't really know. Maybe nobody knows here. Sometimes, you know, they have been in class for 5, 6 years, but they don't know that somebody's good at fishing, or, you know, some kind of talent that they're really good at, and they're happy to share with, of course. You're very much open to tell them. It's up to you. If you want to tell me, this is absolutely your call. So I normally start like this. You can add, of course, anything you want. If you want to teach, you know, any content there, but I highly advise not to be honest, as much as I can. I can squeeze some lessons later, but not the first session.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, you want them to trust you.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not coming in a day, but at least to know that you are flexible as
You
well
start
with
building
your.
rapport. You start building the rapport with the students, that the
Definitely.
foundation starts from day one. Yeah.
And this is the classroom management thing. This is the worry that maybe some teachers might come up, then nobody's listening when I talk. Nobody's just, you know, doing the homework. I say, this is classroom management, isn't it? You build your relationships, you build your rapport. You're basically making everything nice and easy for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is before, send an email, tell them about yourself informally, but professionally. You start nicely, you know, welcoming everyone. You give them some chance to talk. Now, this iceberg is a very important thing to think about. And again, I'm not talking theory, but ideally, what do we see is not really that big. You know, no matter how good the students are, they have other things that they're hiding, like we do the same thing, adults. We have heaps of things that we don't show to others. We're not feeling comfortable sharing with others. So why not them? So don't assume that because they're smiling, because they're looking nice and neat, and you know, the first day and everybody's chatting, they're feeling comfortable, because that's possibly not true. So when we talk about emotional resilience, we need to know that don't believe everything you see there. They're very good at hiding things sometimes. Sometimes they're not. So what's hidden there is heaps of things that they don't want to share with the world. Heaps of frustrations and trauma and loss. Sometimes they lost a very dear friend or family member or a neighbor. So yeah, have this in mind, and this will help you become more empathetic when it comes to your teaching style. So yes, they can show some behavior, you know, graffiti on the wall and yelling at one another, showing the muscles for big boys sometimes. But that's not actually because they're naughty or bad, or they're actually very good students coming from wonderful families. But this is the way they maybe express other things that they can't hide, or, you know, trying to hide as much as they can. And once the teacher digs deeper, only then they will find the elephant in the room, isn't it? Okay, now I know what's going on.
Yeah.
There must be some reason behind that, you know? So this kid sitting there is not as happy as you might think sometimes. It could be a lot of things that they're trying to fight and battle with. So as teachers, we need to know that this is not true. This anger that is showing is not the student or his behavior or her behavior, or she is not good, or she doesn't respect others. No, it could be something else. It's maybe the way to say, please help me. Please, I'm in trouble. I need your support.
Yeah.
But they're not good at showing their emotions. This is how we should, jump in here and help them.
That's true.
And
I
how,
can see that some, like many teachers would simply ignore this. Like they would say, oh, he's just having a bad day. Oh, he forgot something at home, his lunchbox or something. And then they would just ignore it as if it doesn't happen, and they keep on teaching. And this is something that I think is totally unhealthy for the relationship between the teacher and the student, because at the end it will lead to the fact that they won't listen to you because you weren't there for them. You didn't show like that you care about how they, why they are changed today, why are they grumpy today, why they are not like on top of their game like every day, what's happening. So if you don't ask these questions regularly in class, I think this what breaks the bridge that you were trying to build from the beginning. It's very important.
True. And we are masters of reading those body language, signs.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're not. As I said, it's the iceberg. A student can be very good at this. So don't just take it for granted because you're smart. Yeah, yes, we are smart teachers, definitely. But we need to do other things too. You basically need to dig in a nice way, of course. You're not stealing any information or spying on anyone, but you're good at talking to others as well. Involve the administration and involve the advisors, involve the other cohort of teachers who are really good at this as well. And pick up from those little signs that is something that means I think I need to jump in here and give some help. And this help could be anything, could be a simple thing. Just go and attend this training session with this kid, go into this club, play this sport, or just show recognition in class that you're happy with what they're doing there. Even if it's a little thing, that could be, day and night for them. Yeah. So I think I start with an identity flower, like almost always. What's that? So basically I let them tell me what they want to tell me. What do you want me to know about you? And again, it's an important part of learning, and it's healthy to let them tell you what they want to tell you about their choices. For example, dietary choices. What kind of food? Are you a vegan or vegetarian? Interesting. And always use the word interesting, and you're curious basically as a teacher. So they pick this from you and they become as curious as you are as an educator, right? Yeah. And if it's citizenship, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be a country thing. For example, I lived most of my study time in Egypt, Cairo. Some people I had in class coming from different parts of Egypt, beautiful Egypt. So for example, from Alexandria and other cities, they don't see themselves as Cairene, which is fine, which is absolutely fine. And this is part of reconciliation and basically understanding how we are beautiful, as colorful as we are, as diverse as we are, as a beautiful country of lots of people coming from different parts, managing to go on and live together. So it's really critical to show your students, and you model it yourself. I always model it myself. So in New Zealand, for example, my boys came here. First day, we had this rule. I learned from a very good friend back in Saudi Arabia, take the best from the West and leave the rest. Yes. So I start off by saying, I'm a Muslim. I come from Egypt, the country of the beautiful ancient Egyptians. And I show them pictures of my ancestors and the columns and the pyramids. I tell them about my life, I tell them about my favorite sport, the team I support. And this is what I do. Just let them know that you are just like them. You're vulnerable as well. You have areas that you don't want to tell the world about. And the petals, they don't have to be 4 or 5. I had this incidence of one student having 20 petals. Can you imagine? Wow. So you can dig even deeper and deeper and let them tell you as many things, as more information as they can, which is fine, which is, I think, absolutely normal. and natural.
Yeah.
Why the identity flower? Remember the iceberg model?
Yeah.
I want them to be open to me, but not tell me anything they're not happy to tell me, because this also comes with this comfort learning zone thing.
Yeah.
So when you know, with theory, there's lots of talk about, yes, you're comfortable, you're not telling the world about your stories, but you're not learning much when you are doing that. Only when we go out, like the ship goes, out to explore the world and find new lands, only then learning takes place.
That's true.
Once they leave their comfort zone, man, that's just day and night. That's
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that when you start from the comfort zone, like when you said this amazing idea about the identity flower, I think that sharing what they are comfortable about sharing at the beginning, and then because most students, most of my students, I'm not sure if this happens with all students or not, but they are extremely afraid of criticism, especially when they are near like the teenager period. So they are totally afraid of criticism and what would people or what other classmates would say about my choices, about what I've written in this flower, and so on and so forth. So when they start like by sharing what they feel comfortable sharing with, and they see that there is a positive response from the teacher first, and then from their peers or from their classmates, I think this encourages them in the future to lean out of the window or to come out of their comfort zone, and then move on to the other uncomfortable zones, which are the learning zones, of course.
Because Ms. Isra, how would they learn if you're not telling them as a teacher, if you're not showing them, if you're not modeling this? So I go on the board and put kushari for lots of students from Asia here, Malaysian, Chinese, Japanese. The first time I saw them in 2016, I was like impressed by the diversity I had in class. I had to show them and then bring them some beautiful food. My wife wonderfully offered us a very nice, generous meal. It was for them like a feast. I was like so happy to eat that beautiful kind of food. All right, look at those nice things together. So tell them, show them. You draw your own flower as well.
Yeah.
As I said, I start off by telling them what I feel so happy telling the world about, which is absolutely fine. So they would open up to you as well.
That's
And this is part of being resilient and accepting oneself and others later. Yeah. So with this comes this comfort learning and panic zone. Leave it, move on, and then you will find that it's not as bad as you thought. It's actually nicer. Yeah. When you step out and just, explore the world.
Yeah, totally agree.
With pandemic, remember what happened? I found this many places online and I used it in many classes, and I tell them, be positive. This half glass thing, yeah? Look at the full. So when you're panicking, you're actually lucky. Others don't even have a chance to panic because they've already lost their lives. You're still safe. When it gets to losing, access to the grocery and all those things, no, actually you still have some stuff at home. You have a beautiful, wonderful, loving family who will always take care of you, do everything they can to help you and save you and support you. So you always need to be, kind of grateful for what's happening to you.
Yeah.
And show them and tell them. I can talk to you online. I'm lucky I still have you online. Others don't have access to the internet, let alone electricity. So yeah, while you're moaning and groaning about online syndrome and the Zoom fatigue and everything, we're at least grateful because we still can have our classes online. We're having a conversation now. And it's like, across the globe, literally, from the other corner of the world, and we can always have access to learning. So isn't it, something great, like, silver lining? So look at the positive side of it and show them they should be grateful about this.
Yes, absolutely.
And yeah, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's not just about students. It's something that even teachers feel sometimes, when we are overwhelmed with tasks and stuff, like we forget about the little things that we should be grateful for, that we take for granted. So I think this is a wonderful strategy or a way of thinking that it's not only like positive only for students, it's also for teachers as well. Whenever that you feel like I have a lot of to do, I have many tasks, I have many classes to prepare, but you need to be thankful that you have a job. You need to be thankful that you have students that loves you. And so those little things that we sometimes forget, you know, but they are not that little. Actually, when you look at them, they're quite precious.
Yes, and we need to see that it's not just teachers. I think it's also human. It's something that we sometimes tend to do and forget, and count your blessings. This is what we always say, but we need to practice this rather than just preach it. And while we're doing this, we need to also tell them how to be kind of resilient, basically. Say it. So I'll pretend I feel, no, I feel this is not good. I feel it's unfair, teacher, when you give me this mark. Just say it. I will explain this mark to you. I will show you the rubric, and I'll show you an exemplar. I'll show you an excellent answer, and I will let you see for yourself what makes this piece of writing much, much better than the one you produced because you didn't have enough time. I understand. I fully understand how you feel. And I know how you feel. I've been there even before, and I show them examples of what I received in my master's degree, modules, and the feedback I got, and the 20 comments coming from my supervisor, and I felt like I just, lost it. So I show them and tell them, and I feel, be honest about your feelings. I tell my students, just tell me how you feel. But also, please allow me to show you why this is not getting the mark you are getting. And why, when I show them and walk them through an exemplar with the well-structured kind of piece of writing or any piece of evidence, only then things change to them. Even if it's not that clear at the moment, but they will get to understand. But most importantly for us as educators, we need to always let them express their feelings. Let them say what they feel. It's not unhealthy. Actually, it's unhealthy to hide it, because
Or
if
to
it's
ignore it,
hidden,
to hide it or ignore it. Yeah, that's important. Yeah.
And we do that with our children as well. Like, tell us, it's unfair always. Okay, unfair. Okay, why is it unfair? Yeah, this little dude is sitting there because this is how we tend to feel stepping in someone else's shoes, right? Easy to say, but difficult to do. I understand, okay? But it's important because this is what teaching is about. Teaching is not just coming to lecture people who are late. Where have you been? It's not your first time. Your submissions are late. Look at your uniform, whatever. Easy to criticize, but sometimes there's really something urgent happening there in the student's life that we as teachers need to understand and tolerate and accept, because they are not perfect. We are not perfect too. We make mistakes. We don't find a parking lot before the line starts in 10 minutes and you don't know, so you found yourself late to class, right? It happened with me many times. Your internet is not working. All of a sudden, Zoom decided to download some updates. You're late. It happens with us. Your headsets do not work for some reason and you don't find your spare headsets. Yeah. Your internet breaks. Everything happens. So empathy. We need more of this, Ms. Isra. Empathy as teachers, not just as a student, as teachers. Before we expect it of them. This is a very nice quote I found there. I think it makes sense, not necessarily if you don't want to come and learn, but we need to know that some students really want to feel loved in class. Maybe this is the only thing that keeps them alive. Your session, imagine. I heard it from a student before. He said, I wait for this class the whole night.
Yeah, I see.
Can you imagine?
Yes, yes. I've heard it so many times, like, because this is where it's their getaway, it's their sanctuary. Like, I think once you hear this from a student, I believe that you have successfully built the right bridge with your students, the right rapport, the right relationship, that they are looking forward to your class. They're not saying like, oh, we have Mrs. Srat's class now, oh my God, we're gonna sit here and listen to what she's saying for like blah, blah hours. And So having your students tell you this is a wonderful achievement that I think many teachers have felt, and I wish all teachers can feel someday.
And I think if somebody is not feeling it, they shouldn't be in that profession, to be honest, Ms. Isra.
Mm-hmm.
This is the thing that keeps us in this job. I think many people who are following us now, or maybe watching this video later, would come and tell you, yes, it's not the money, it's not the status, whatever. It's actually the love of students, the feeling that I've accomplished something that keeps me in that profession. And to help them with that, we need to be more empathetic. We need to basically become good listeners. So are we good listeners? So you, for example, go and talk to me about something, and I just want to respond to you, to show you that I know. And a student talks to us in class a lot of times, by the way. Yeah. If you go and see how many times they ask you questions online or face-to-face, yeah, lots of time. Are we really listening? Like listening to them, or we just want to answer them? Okay, open your book, page number 20. Have you seen the answer on that blah, blah, blah? Okay, they can't find the answer, by the way. Maybe they're asking you some question because they want just to let you know that they're here. They're here. Hello, attention seekers. Again, the elephant in the room. Yes. Lots of them we have in our classes who only feel they're happy when you are looking at them, talking to them. So don't just respond. Let them tell you what's there, okay? And don't compete, basically, to show that you also go through the same pain. Okay, Abdul, you're talking now about your problems. I am a parent, I have 3 children, I have full-time work, I'm studying online, I'm doing workshops, and I'm still able to come to class. Well, thank you for telling them that you're suffering, but actually this did not help at all. It actually added insult to the injury. It's just basically making things more difficult for them because they will do exactly the same strategy every time somebody talks to them. Mm-hmm. Because they love you, they like you. They will just imitate you, basically. They will just do the same thing. So every time somebody complains to them, expecting them to be a good listener, what they will do is just do the same. Like, don't tell me about your problems, I have problems too. Did you really listen to my problem first? No, you didn't even listen to that. Yeah. And interruptions. Mm-hmm. So you know that, and you complete the sentence for them. That's actually, sorry, rude. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm saying that to teachers. Sometimes we do that. And I'm, by the way, talking to myself here. I want to really remember those words after the session. I want to benefit from that. So I'm always telling myself as a parent, as a teacher, don't interrupt. And I get told off by my wife a lot, by the way, when I talk to my eldest, who was a teenager. Like, did you even listen to him? He didn't even finish his sentence. I'm guilty. I say, I'm sorry. And if I'm not even saying it, deep inside, I feel so guilty. And I try not to do that all the time. So we're working on this, you know, it's not an end process.
Of course, yes, it's a learning.
Interrogation, asking questions. Yeah. Did you ask someone else? Did you go online and find information? Did you check your homework? Did you check the other website? Did you talk to someone? Oh, please. You're not questioning all the time, right? Yeah. So whether we are educators or parents or like humans, we're really losing this track of conversations now, are we? Yeah. I mean, it's really sad that people are not really listening as much now.
Yeah, that's true. Because you think you know what they want and you think you understand how they feel, but actually...
the knowledgeable me, of course I know everything. I have to show them that I know everything. And this comes the convincing part. This convincer who has answers to everything. Yeah. I have to tell you and I have to convince you. You don't have to win all the battles, by the way. You just lose some of them, which is fine, by the way. It's just fine, normally done with people, like grown-ups, lose battles. So don't convince everyone of everything because you will not convince the whole world. Yeah. We are meant to be different. This is really good to reflect on. And sometimes it comes with the negative side when you are always supporting. Yes, yes, yes. He's always like that. Yeah, I agree with you. I fully understand. Okay, Now, hold on. You're not actually helping when you're supporting every single sentence or word the student is saying. You're sometimes overdoing it. So what we need is just a balance, affirmation that you are following, but not necessarily agreeing on everything, especially if it's not good, ethically, or acceptable in the community or the society you're living in.
Mm-hmm.
So when you reflect on this, I always ask those questions in my, talks with my colleagues and friends. Have you been experiencing this recently, whether you are the receiver or the doer? Or what kinds have you used? And when they are opening to me, and I'm telling you, it's conversations with teachers from all over the world I've had now with many people over the last few years, they mostly agree with 4 or 5 of those types. When they open up, of course. Some people won't tell you right away. You notice it, but they won't tell you sometimes. So avoid this kind of feedback monster, I say. I give you feedback, I am the one in charge, and be an active listener. Understand before you say anything. I tell this to myself because I'm not perfect. And I'm guilty of this sometimes. So again, I'm working on my listening on my listening skills here with Isra. Don't judge. Don't judge, okay? They tell you about something you think is, in your opinion, silly, which is not silly, by the way, at all.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't judge, because it could be day and night for them. It could be their whole life. What you think is silly is something important for them. The way they dress, the way they eat, the way they, whatever. Don't judge. And make sure you're listening. So, not like every single word, but you're telling me this because of that. No judgment here, okay? But I'm just, following the track. So telling you, eye contact, your hands. We are teachers. We know this, right? We use it all the time. You don't have to say something, but you show me that you're interested. Of course, you're not checking your phone while I'm talking to you about my problem at home, because it's a very good sign you don't really give it a damn, sorry. If you're not really giving you your full attention, why would I even tell you next time about my problem? You're checking your WhatsApp messages. Not now. That's not the time to do that. In the corridor, students coming to you with some very little thing. Just leave everything. Give them your full attention. Eye contact, nodding. Listen to the emotion. Sometimes it's not the words, but the feelings that come with it, the poses, the way they say it.
The way they say it. Yeah.
Like the really and the really. Same word, but day and night. Repeat some words. Sometimes it's good to embrace, okay? And this Du Bois word, very, very important to share, because I found it just makes good sense to me as well. They very much want to see empathy, not read it. They don't want to read it. They want to see it in their practice. They want to see you as empathetic. And this picture, this very meaningful picture there, tells a lot, actually. She's not actually aware that somebody's taking a picture, I'm assuming. She's just doing something she feels deep inside is important to do. How did she pick that? Could be a parent, could be a teacher. So I think it's always good to reflect on that as educators. Students don't want to listen to advice. They want to see it there in front of their eyes. When somebody's late or they're short of whatever, homework activities, don't just be so hard on them. There are other things happening in their lives too. Show them empathy.
Show them that you care about what happens to them outside the classroom, that actually affects what's happening or they're learning in the classroom. And I think once you get to show them that, and they know that you care about it, even if it's something that is too personal that they can share, but once they get this feeling from you that you care about what happens to them outside the classroom and how it affects them, they become like I can see many students in my classes before transform. They become active listeners. They come to your class up and ready and willing to engage and become like part of the classroom's discussions and take part in the activities, who were once before like not even willing to talk to one of their like classmates or their friends in the classroom. You can see huge transformation once they get this feeling from you.
I'm so aware of the time, and I know I'm going beyond the time. I
No,
promise you to go for
absolutely.
15
No.
minutes. I'm just wondering if I can move on for another 5 minutes, if that's fine.
No, absolutely.
Because I just want to share, I want to share what feedback can be like sometimes, because I fall in the trap of sometimes, over giving feedback or over marking, if I would say.
Yeah.
Teachers have a lot of knowledge to share, which is awesome, by the way. We educators have a lot of knowledge we have accumulated over the years and from the courses we've taken or attended, the sessions attended and everything, peer teaching, this kind of session we're having. But this does not mean that we tell them everything right now. It's like not a cup, a cup you want to fill in a second. It's a process, right? So for any new teacher, it's always good to know that sometimes it's better not to give feedback, and it's feedback. How come that not feedback is feedback?
Yeah.
Well,
the question.
This is it. So it's basically you are not correcting every single mistake on that piece of writing.
Yeah.
Simple as that. But why not? Well, actually, they won't first remember all your nice little comments here and there. Second, they will just lose track of the learning. Then obviously they will get frustrated. And just put yourself in their shoes. If I give you this piece of writing, 250-word essay, and you just fill it with red, do you want me to write next time? Of course not. I just copy paste and plagiarize and ask someone to write it for me and do all those, backdoor kind of ways. I have lots of ways to do it. I'm a smart student. I can find my way. Yeah. Ask my elder brother to write it for me. So no more reds. Everybody's happy. The teacher is happy. So think about it and stop being a perfectionist as a teacher, because this is not going to work. We are not perfect as teachers. We lose track of time. We forget the lesson plan points. We don't put the objectives on the board. We forget the assessment at the end, or not telling them the homework activity. We do a lot of horrible things. With all those years of experience, I'm telling you, I'm still struggling with taking attendance online with Zoom. And I only remember when I have a breakout room activity. Luckily, I go, quickly go and just do your attendance. So
yeah, at the end, we're all human and we're all learning. Like if you are a master's student, if you are a PhD holder, you are still learning. This is how life is. So it's important that we don't forget this, that they are not the only learners in this classroom. You are a learner as well.
Oh, true. I think I'm the biggest learner of them. Yeah. And every time I go to class, Ms. Isra, always I go with my book and pen. I always take notes. Regardless of whatever your class you're teaching, primary school, whatever you're teaching level, it's always a learning experience for you yourself, so that you can improve on your teaching as well. What did I forget this time? So that I'm trying to pick it up next time. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just like little examples. Okay, and I promise it's just practical, as I told you earlier. So if you look at a question that might come, how do you feel when your learners make mistakes in their work? So if you are to make a choice, and again, it's absolutely up to the teacher to decide. You just need to think of the bigger picture, not the assignment at hand, not the task that you're doing, whether it's a grammar, vocabulary, if you're an English teacher, or if you're doing a biology lesson, or any lesson in your, in your teaching, in your beautiful career. Do you expect mistakes? And how natural are you to see them? Because it's high time we expect mistakes, because hello, they are learning, right? So if they're not supposed to be learning, what are they doing there in class then? So it's, I think, natural. But sometimes we tend to go into that B. Yeah, I want to teach them something. How can I just leave this little spelling mistake there?
Yeah.
Or, tense, jumping from this tense to that tense.
Yeah.
Very common mistake there, but don't just teach it now. Yeah. Some people are good at collecting all those generic mistakes from 25 students and then coming to the board with just talking about subject-verb agreement. This is the mistake that most of you had, or some students had, without naming anyone. No need to name and shame. Just, this is the subject, this is the verb, and they need to agree with it's singular or plural. Give an example, simple one. Move on. A student will pick it up. Some won't, for sure, but most of them will. And this means you are really winning here. Next time you'll have less mistakes of that sort.
Yeah.
Lots of strategies. Teachers have wonderful ideas. I've attended wonderful sessions about feedback. And you can imagine teachers who just started career, like 16, 15 years of teaching. I sit there, I found myself like, wow, I've never thought of the idea. So go and talk to your cohort of teachers, see what they think. A newbie is sometimes very much talented. They have wonderful talents there.
Yeah.
So I would say always accept mistakes. Don't be annoyed. And don't blame your teaching, please, because no, it's not teaching. It's a lot of things. Yeah. I'm back to judging things. You also, as an educator, need to accept the fact that we are not perfect. Simple. Yeah. Why not if it's your teaching? It's maybe something you need to learn or maybe improve, which is absolutely fine.
Maybe they need to learn in a different way. Maybe they need to learn using different strategy, and that's totally fine. It doesn't mean that you're a bad teacher, but you just need to change your approach. So being able also to accept this, I think this is one of the challenges that many teachers face. Like, it's not that you're a bad teacher, but at the same time, you are there to teach them the way they want to be taught. This is important, not the way you want to teach them.
Comments for feel free to let me know, Mrs. Isra. When do you correct the mistakes? So this is the when question now. Is it always like right now, right away? Stop, interrupt the student, tell them about the mistake. This is how we pronounce the word. You pronounce it this way, you should pronounce it that way. Or is it something you hold on to and talk to them in private? Or maybe it's something you collect and then tell the world about it, after you finish this whole activity of a conversation, whatever you're doing. When communication breaks down, maybe this is a stage you think it's good to interfere as a teacher. So they stop the conversation. Now you can feel like you can now comment on it. Or if a learner is not making himself understood, like the conversation is not going through, you don't know what they're really looking for or they're asking.
Yeah.
So again, there's no one way of correcting here of right and wrong, but I always look at the bigger picture, the bigger gain, if I would say. If you are looking at the smaller picture, means you want them to just pronounce this word right or write it correctly. But what you're losing by doing every single mistake is actually more horrendous because you're losing that student. He or she will not participate next time. And I saw that many times in some classes. They don't even want to say a word or come to the board or submit their homework on time. Literally, they just lost their confidence.
Yeah.
So don't be that factor of them losing their confidence there, because remember, your bigger battle, your bigger war actually is going through these horrible conditions of what's happening around the world and making them move on with their lives, not just learning. Learning is important, but it's not their lives. Some students lose track of their learning because of a teacher sometimes. The way they correct every single mistake right now. I want them all to be, BBC World Service speakers. Yes. This is not going to happen.
Yes, that's true.
It's a process. They are getting there. accept the fact that they are not perfect, because we are not perfect ourselves with different sides of our career. And what do you do? So now this is a mistake of a speaking. So do you tell them, no, this is how you say it, or correct it? Do you type or write the transcription, or go to Google Dictionary, whatever, and let them hear the word? Use your gestures to show them how we pronounce it, like the job video that was very common in Egypt. The difference between a job and a job. I was so, happy watching this with my family. So, well, that's interesting to see how it's pronounced.
I think one of our followers on Facebook page, he just mentioned a very important point, which is education is a marathon, not a sprint. So
Oh
you
yeah,
expect
I
them
love that.
to, yeah. So yeah, it's a very, very well said quote. I think it describes how education is. It has to be taken step by step, even if they're making hundreds of mistakes. But again, you cannot correct all the 100 mistakes at once.
And they started from different parts of the, this whole race.
Yes.
Some of them started earlier. It's not good to compare them. It's not going to help. So it's really meaningful. Thank you for the comment. It's really meaningful. How do you correct it? If it's written, for example, do you underline? People use this track changes Word document thing. Do you correct them right away? Do you insert comments everywhere on the sheet? If it's paper-based, how do you do it? If it's like pen, do you use the red or no? Think about it. Correction symbols, do you use those beautiful things of SP spelling and G grammar? And
yes.
Do they work all the time? Sometimes, depending on the level. Think about it. Do you write notes and questions to guide your learners? Like what they need to do to find a better way of writing this, rather than just correcting things every time. I remember having a cohort of students coming from one part of the world, and no need to mention that place, but it's basically the student coming so hard, even putting a comment to the administration, like, the teacher is not correcting all the mistakes I have on my writing piece of paper. And the coordinator, who's been a teacher for 30 years, and she's really experienced, she said, well, we understand the concern, we'll help you as much as we can, but we're trying to actually help you with your learning. This is why the teacher gives you some links to some things to look at, some lessons to review rather than correcting everything. So sometimes it's good to use different strategies. You know what I mean? It's not a correct and wrong thing, Ms. Isra here.
Yes.
And teachers, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is right and wrong. What I'm saying is it depends pretty much on the situation at hand and to your judgment of the scenario you're going through, the type of writing they're submitting. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So feedback isn't telling people what to do. That's not feedback, because you're not supposed to be there all the time.
Yes.
Feedback is not about do this, all right? Or always giving advice. If I were you, I would do this. No, actually, you're not them. You're not them. So be realistic. Don't just be the sage on the stage. You sometimes need to step back and just leave it. Just drop it. Don't be that person who always knows everything. Yeah. Remember the listening types? Assuming a position of the expert. Oh yeah, of course. I am the one who sits in the center of the class, or I have the control of my Zoom and mentoring. Sometimes mentoring is not good, although it's always used in a positive sense in lots of research and lots of papers of being the buddy, or but sometimes, again, overdoing this once, twice, more, 5, 6 times, a student feels that they are not even in charge of their learning anymore.
Yes.
It's always up to the mentor to tell me what's right and wrong. It's always been done right, by them. It's not me, actually. It's not my call anyway. So here's what I found, making sense to me as well in my teaching. So instead of telling people just moving on by holding the space for the student to find the solutions. Like, what do you think we can do about this? Let's talk, all right? Let's think of 4 or 5 different solutions. And you are going to choose one, not me. You're going to choose one of them. So help them brainstorm, basically. Rather than you are in charge, yeah? You are in charge, you know all things. And walking alongside them, be there for them. Be that kind of person who's always, triggering some ideas in their minds, inspiring them. You being there is enough for them, by the way. They will figure it out. They are smart. Never underestimate the power of your students because they're very smart. Regardless of the level you're teaching or the year or age group, they are so smart and brilliant. But just tell them they are. Tell them they are brilliant. Show them they are in charge. Let them own their individual decisions about their learning, because it's very crucial.
Yeah.
Again, regardless of the level. I'm talking about primary school sometimes, which is absolutely fine with that. And don't be judgmental. Be curious. This is the decision. You have this toolbox of tools you can bring from anywhere to be curious. You are that curious person in the room. They can pick it up from you and be as curious as you are to explore their world and be as curious, as smart and non-judgmental as you are as a teacher. I like to start with this beautiful, precise praise. I liked this introduction in your essay where you very clearly highlighted the background statement, the thesis, your outline. You told the reader what's coming ahead. It's very wonderfully done. So never jump into, don't do this. Okay? Yeah, I'm a teacher, of course. Just look, 10 seconds I looked in the essay and I saw the mistakes. Well, thank you for showing off, but that's not helping. That's not helping the student. So you tell them, I found this. Actually, I noticed this evidence here when you use this particular example. That was brilliant. Just don't tell them good. Good means nothing. What do you mean by that good? Then I wondered, well, have you considered, how about, have you checked other resources when you did this? Yeah. And don't give them a closed answer. Just open it in the minds and trust me.
Yes.
It will work. I saw it many times. It works very well. Once you trigger that inquisition and curiosity, you have amazing answers from your students, regardless of the level, regardless of the age group. It works with the elderly, it works with middle-aged, it works with everyone I saw in my career. All the classes I had this beautiful experience with them, Ms. Isra, I always had this kind of feedback from them after class. When they said, I like the fact that you always give us the chance to think. I appreciate you giving us the time to consider options.
And to find the answers for themselves. I think this is an important skill to learn, that they shouldn't be like spoon-fed, like, no, this is wrong, the right answer is this. So it's giving them the chance to think of what would the right answer be, how do you think it would be, and you're gonna get actually a lot of suggestions and ideas that sometimes as a teacher you would be amazed of, wow, how did they get that? How did they think of it this way? So because their brains are different and each one of them will come up with something that maybe you haven't thought of before. So again, as a teacher, you will be learning from them too.
Definitely, Ms. Isra, always come to the class with this kind of idea. I'm not the smartest in the room.
Yeah.
And I mean it. I do mean it. Please do next time you teach. Don't jump into the room that you are the knowledgeable person. You know the book back to back. You've seen 100 scripts. You have marked 1,000 papers. That's not helping.
And
You're
many
actually,
teachers, many teachers don't think that this is related to social or emotional support to students. Like I believe that maybe 1 or 2 teachers who are watching us right now would be asking, like, what's the relationship between giving back in the classroom and the student social emotional support? Actually,
absolutely. It's absolutely relevant.
Yeah, it's
Why?
100%
Not
relevant.
because Abdelhamid thinks so or Ms. Isra thinks so. It's what is happening in practice.
Yeah.
What we are talking to you about today is something that we have brought from classes from years and years of experience.
Yeah.
The problems that the students are facing emotionally and socially come from a class that is filled with content, but
Yes.
no human factor,
Yeah.
no appraise, no listening. So when we talked about active listening, how come this is irrelevant? It's absolutely relevant because they are picking this from you. You know, you as a teacher, when you show, when you model, when you role model the listening activity and how you are a listener, how active you are, you're actually winning somebody in the community who's a good listener too. And of course, I respect the feedback that is coming from the listeners. This may be another way of looking at it. If somebody was expecting more of a theory, psychology, you know, references, which we will provide, of course, later, but that's not actually what we're here for. We said at the earlier stages of the session, we're not actually talking theory today, we're talking practical experience. And again, wondering and open questions is really critical. Don't close it for them. Because if you did the whole process, what is left for them? You know, new research is coming now with 21st century skills, the critical thinking, problem solver. How can they become critical thinkers when they are not given any chance to have any time
I
to
think.
express their
Yeah.
needs?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, teaching is not content. My mates, my colleagues, my brothers and sisters, teachers of the world, we all know this. Teaching is a work of heart. You're picking this job, you're not just teaching content, science, maths, algorithms, you're teaching a human being. You need to be expecting that they are making mistakes. You need to tolerate those mistakes. You need to be open to their conversations outside the classroom. Open the channel for them to come to you later on with a question on WhatsApp. Don't say, oh, don't give my numbers to him. Of course, it's your call, but why not? I would say, why not? We're spammed every day anyway, by Google ads, by everything. Why not our beautiful students? Let them spam us for some time. Maybe you are the only one left for them to send a message and you don't want to pick it up at night. Fine, that's absolutely your time. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, regardless of the way, try and open a channel for them to talk to you informally so that they are really not scared of the fact that they are learning and they have to pass them, get the good marks on the journal certificate degrees and going to the parents with those fancy marks and going to this, high class kind of college. Show them that you are empathetic and you are more understanding. Remember the flower? We talked about how important it is for them to tell you about what they feel comfortable sharing. And remember the iceberg? You don't see the whole picture because there's lots of trauma and drama hidden there.
Yeah.
So the reflection is basically what's next. If you are to move on from this, if you are to put any comments there in the live, please let me know. What are some of the aha moments? Maybe something you might consider after the session. You might be definitely doing this already, but what could be something else you might be, thinking about reconsidering in your, teaching practice? Could be a simple activity. Could be something that might just think about now and maybe develop later. It could end up a beautiful session you share with us as well, who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. And I can't think of a better way actually of ending this interview with you, Mr. Abdelhamid, like reflecting on what you've learned. Like reflection should be a part of your day-to-day activity, not only with your students but also in your life. What is it that you've learned today? If you had the chance to change something, what would it be? How would you change it? Even in the little incidents that you have in life, when you do that, like on regular basis with your students, this will also help them teach them how to reflect as well. So if you're doing it for yourself, it will be automatically transferred to your students, because it's going to be contagious. If they see you do it, they will do it as well.
It is contagious.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is so contagious, and they see it in your eyes, in your attitude, in your practice. Your
Mhm.
students would definitely pick it up at a certain stage. Sometimes they don't pick it up right away,
Mhm.
but it's coming, you know. Your
Yeah.
beautiful work is not left unattended to. It's always there. You know, this seed you spend some time to put there down there.
Yes.
That's something that will not be left unattended to. That's something that will be very much coming to a beautiful tree soon. They will not, you know, stay in the cocoon for a long time. They would definitely come out, become a beautiful butterfly, you know, showing off with the colors to the world. But we need to be patient, basically.
Mhm.
And if I were to think of something, we as teachers, we as educators need to be humble as well, to know that we don't know everything. We
Yeah.
still have heaps to learn as well. Knowing that in itself is, I think, 50% of the whole war, to know that there is something I need to work on, which is I don't know everything. Being good at my subject does not mean that I'm a good teacher all the time. Not necessarily. Go and ask a good friend of yours for a very informal peer teaching moment, like 10 minutes at the end of the class, very informally. Get you a cup of tea or coffee and just jump into the room and invite them to your room as well. Like, tell them, I'm doing this activity. I want to tell you, I want to see how it works from your angle.
Yeah.
And don't just tell me good things, just tell me what didn't work from your side.
Yeah.
Was any student left unattended to during the session? Or, you know, be open to this kind of feedback. Let them see that you are vulnerable too. You're not perfect as a teacher or as an educator. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go and publish something online and see what your friends and colleagues think about. Attend a session and pick up something from a speaker. Could be only 10 seconds of the whole 1 hour. Who knows, but could be a game changer to your teaching as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I can't thank you enough for all these valuable tips and techniques for our teachers and followers out there. I just want to ask one last question, because I know that most teachers would be wondering right now, like, you know, that many teachers would love to have some kind of professional training when it comes to developing their skills or their teaching. And I was just wondering if you can guide the teachers about this. Like, are there any sort of certificates or any websites or any resources that you used that can help you promote social emotional as aspects of your students in the classroom? I know that experience is the key here and you learn from your students, but would there be any resources that can be a starting point for teachers out there?
Thank you, Mrs. Starr. I'm not sure if I'm the right person to ask, to be honest, but what I would say is, as a teacher, I call myself as a teacher, and I did my research about diversity and cultural responsiveness and what that means in the 21st century. Read a lot of things that are current, attend sessions like those ones we're doing now, and other things too.
Mhm.
But most importantly, go to your friends' rooms, ask them to help you. Go and visit someone's class and jump into the room and see, you know, how it works with them and how they answer students' questions. Go and be that kind of fly on the wall and see how it works in a meeting with someone, you know, with experience and knowledge. Go on LinkedIn and find those posts that are related to emotional, social development. Even if you don't see this session useful at all, if it's one thing I would say, I would always say, be open to people's suggestions and advice. I did a course on global competence certificate. I will share those resources with you. As I said, I will share them as something you can add on your Facebook page. But honestly, Ms. Isra, it's not a link or a course you can take. It's a process, starting from you knowing that you need to make some changes in the way you're teaching, and understanding the importance of knowing your students well, helping them prosper, make mistakes, tolerate those mistakes so that they can move on and learn. And yeah, use your colleagues, use the power of the committee, the cohort you are with. Those LinkedIn profiles, those LinkedIn posts are really useful, especially I've been with Mrs. Ra for some time now and seeing her nice posts. Any professional development session that makes sense to you. Sometimes online, sometimes it's face-to-face. Don't miss those opportunities, guys. This is how we learn. And it's not necessarily a research-based study. You have to go for a master's or a PhD. Yeah, it could be helpful. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just an article you read about it. But just open your mind to the fact that we don't know everything, especially when it comes to emotional and social intelligence. Our students need a lot from our side. They expect a lot from us. So we need to be there for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And thank you so much for those amazing resources and information and tips that you've provided today. And I'm sure that everyone like who's been watching or will watch will benefit a lot from it, because I see that this rich interview can actually be a workshop on its own. It can be a valuable asset to teachers who are still wondering, like, what should I do? How do I start? Where do I begin? What should I consider? So all of these questions, I feel that they've been already answered through your tips and the slides that you've shared with us. So thanks again, Dr. Abdelhamid, for being with us today. And
Most welcome.
if you don't mind, if I had received any questions from our followers later on, I'll be sharing them with you later, and then we will be posting the answers on our social media handles. So
my pleasure. And I'm on LinkedIn as well, guys. You can just go onto my page and just have me as a friend. If you allow me, we can share knowledge. We can definitely attend sessions to one another, share resources. Wonderful time I had really with you, Ms. Isra, and Teacher Jen. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us today. And we will share your LinkedIn profile link on our Facebook page as well. So if any of the fellow teachers would like to get in touch or become a connection with you, of course, if you don't mind. Perfect.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And have a wonderful day. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.